Hello, my name is Paul Webb. I have a degree in Soils and Water Science from UC Davis. I have experience working on the Cosumnes River project for the UC Davis Center for Watershed Sciences. I've also helped Lobol Hydrologic do groundwater remediation investigation on a number of sites, including Orange County and Queens, New York. I am here to give a lightning talk for the Delta Heritage Forum hosted by the Delta Protection Commission. Although I won't have a lot of slides on parcels from the Delta and land specifically picked out, this discussion is about seeing the Delta and is a classic story of wetlands reconstruction and oak woodland restoration. So I am wanting to discuss reconstructing wetlands and oak woodlands. I'm going to jet through the first couple of slides because they're all about the history of the Delta. Part of being a national heritage area is celebrating the unique historical, cultural, natural resources in the Delta. And so I want to get started by doing a bit of research on the history. Since the beginning of time, native California Indians have lived in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. They're the Yokut, Miwok, and Costanoans. Here's a slide showing their distribution from a historical atlas as it would have been in 1770, Miwok, Costanoan, Yokut. Early native California culture, their diet consisted mainly of acorns and occasionally small game and fish. Here is Quercus lobata, or valley oak, an important tree on the landscape of the Delta, one that would be included in our oak woodland restoration. Here is a picture of wetlands in the Delta. I've given two slides, the Quercus lobata and the wetlands slide, to give an idea of how reconstructed wetlands and restored oak woodlands look. Part of the history of the Delta is the discovery of the San Francisco Bay. That was in 1770 by Portola and Crespi. That's a land discovery from the south. In 1772, Pedro Fages finds the Carquinez Strait. The Carquinez Strait is basically the outlet of the Delta into the San Francisco Bay. California was claimed as United States territory in 1848 following the Treaty of Guadalupe-Hidalgo. Along the same year was James Marshall's discovery in Coloma at the sawmill of gold, and reporting that discovery back to Captain Sutter in Sacramento. Here's a picture of the sawmill in Coloma. We had climate challenges in the 19th century as well. This is a picture of the Great Flood of 1862. This flood is notorious because it's basically an atmospheric river with, or also known as a Pineapple Express, with warm rains pummeling the west coast for many days in a row and washing the snowpack out of the Sierra Nevadas into the valley. This is a picture of the inundation of the state capitol. Moving right along, we had the construction and completion of the Folsom Powerhouse in 1895 by Horatio P. Livermore. The Folsom Powerhouse provided electricity to Sacramento on a 40-mile-long power line. Now, the Delta and the Central Valley is recognized as premium agricultural area. Prior to the gold rush, California produced cow skins and wine. Pine trees in the Sierras were used for lumber or new structures. The population increased dramatically during the gold rush. The Central Valley, including the Delta, is now recognized as premium agricultural area, and that means they sell vegetables to the whole country and now the whole world. Here is an image from the winter 2020 edition of the Delta Voice of George Shima, a very successful potato grower. And in 1906, he's a great example of the culture of California agriculture. Other vegetables that we sell from the Central Valley and the Delta to the whole world are organic tomatoes and Delta Queen asparagus. In 2009, President Theodore Roosevelt signed the Reclamation Act. The Reclamation Act created the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation They are responsible for funding irrigation projects for the American West, and they recognized that the American West could not have been settled without irrigation water. Moving up from the history into today, we have the designation, the recognition of the Delta as a designated national heritage area. And this shows how big of a heritage area the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta is. Here is a marsh in the Delta receiving waters from north of Sacramento. Reconstructing a wetland is environmentally friendly because wetlands are net sinks for carbon dioxide. That means they store carbon. And here is a picture depicting the process of carbon sequestration. Another ecologically significant characteristic of the Delta is that it is in part of the Pacific Flyway. The Pacific Flyway is a preferential pathway for migratory birds. And just a couple of those birds are the northern pintail, southern shoulder, American coot, wren, Swanson's hawks, northern heron. Wind turbines pose a hazard to migratory birds. Here is a long-fin delta smelt, another protected species in the delta that may benefit from reconstructed wetlands. Here's the California freshwater shrimp, swamp crayfish, and the California chinook. Moving from ecological benefits of reconstructed wetlands and oak woodlands to recreation and heritage tourism would be hiking, biking, kayaking, fishing, and bird watching. One example of reconstructed wetlands is the marsh habitat east of the Davis wastewater treatment plant. Water transport is important for reconstructed wetlands and oak woodland restoration. Here is a flap gate controlling the flow of water one way based on gravity. Here is a drainage pump. This drainage pump essentially transfers water from the city of Davis during heavy precipitation events into the same canal that the Davis wastewater treatment plant releases water into. That canal runs to the Sacramento River and also the reconstructed wetlands. An interesting story is that one time a farmer put a lock on this pump house because the city was transferring water from a large precipitation event into an irrigation ditch, and the irrigation ditch was overflowing into his almond orchard. Following his putting a lock on the pump, the city continued to use it to transfer water during flooding or heavy precipitation events, and a lawsuit followed. Restoring an oak woodland requires planting a lot of trees. This slide is to give you a picture of trees almost 50 feet tall. This slide is to show a mixed use wetlands, or a water-friendly crop, in which case a reconstructed wetlands may incorporate farming into it. This is from a rice breeding facility in Williams, California, Northern California, with the Cal Rose variety developed in 1948. The idea behind this slide is that agriculture is still an important aspect of a reconstructed wetlands, and that by farming rice in the Delta, there may be positive impacts on water resource management, similar such scenario as a reconstructed wetland. Conveyance is an important factor in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta and should be taken into consideration when deciding where to reconstruct a wetland and restore a oak woodland. And I suggest finding a place where there is the least amount of water circulation. The Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, a reconstructed wetlands and restored oak woodlands may help buffer water in the ground and prevent water from becoming stagnant. Another potentially beneficial aspect of wetlands reconstruction and oak woodland habitation cohabitation is injection wells for desirable results. This is basically a slide to address climate change and how rising sea ocean levels could pose potential problems for saltwater intrusion. This slide is of the Sorel desalination plant in Israel. This is just another creative solution to meeting the needs of California and increasing fresh water supply. All right, that concludes my lightning talk today titled Seeing the Delta. Thank you very much.